Good? Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Rebecca Tepper. I'm the Secretary of the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs and the Chair of the Energy Facilities Siting Board. Before we get started, I'll ask the interpreters to provide instructions on using the interpretation services being provided today.
Thank you. Language announcement will now begin. We are providing interpretation services for this meeting in Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, Vietnamese, Haitian Creole, and Arabic, as well as American Sign Language. If you are in the hearing room, you can access interpretation using a receiver and headphone set. They are available at the table at the side of the room. For those on Zoom, you will see a globe icon button that says Interpretation. Click the globe and make a selection for your preferred language, including English. Now for Spanish, please.
Ofrecemos servicios de interpretación para esta reunión en español, portugués, chino, vietnamita, criollo haitiano y árabe, así como lengua de señas americanas. Si se encuentra en la sala de audiencias, puede acceder a la interpretación mediante un receptor y unos auriculares. Estos están disponibles en la mesa situada a un costado de la sala. Si participa a través de Zoom, verá un botón con el icono de un globo terráqueo que dice Interpretación. Haga clic en el globo y seleccione el idioma de preferencia, incluido el inglés. Gracias.
And for Portuguese, please.
Oferecemos serviços de interpretação para essa reunião em espanhol, português, chinês, vietnamita, crioulo haitiano, árabe e língua de sinais americana. Se você estiver na sala de audiências, poderá acessar a interpretação usando o receptor e um fone de ouvido. Esses estarão disponíveis na mesa, no lado da sala. Para quem estiver usando o Zoom, você verá um botão com o ícone de um globo terrestre que diz Interpretation. Clique no globo e selecione o idioma de sua preferência, incluindo o inglês. Obrigado.
For Mandarin, please.
本次会议提供西班牙语、葡萄牙语、中文、越南语、海地克里奥尔语、阿拉伯语以及美国手语的同声传译服务。如果您在会场内，可以使用接收器和耳机收听翻译。这些设备放在会场侧边的桌子上。对于通过 Zoom 参会的人员，您会看到一个标有传译的地球仪图标按钮，点击该地球仪并选择您偏好的语言，包括英语。
For Vietnamese, please.
Chúng tôi cung cấp dịch vụ phiên dịch cho cuộc họp này bằng các ngôn ngữ tiếng Tây Ban Nha, Bồ Đào Nha, Trung Quốc, Việt Nam, tiếng Creole Haiti, tiếng Ả Rập cùng với ngôn ngữ ký hiệu Mỹ ASL. Nếu quý vị có mặt tại phòng họp trực tiếp, quý vị có thể sử dụng thiết bị thu tín hiệu và tai nghe để có thể nghe phiên dịch. Các thiết bị này được đặt sẵn tại bàn ở phía bên cạnh phòng họp. Đối với những người tham gia qua Zoom, quý vị sẽ thấy một biểu tượng quả địa cầu globe có chữ Interpretation. Hãy nhấn vào biểu tượng quả địa cầu đó, chọn ngôn ngữ mà quý vị muốn nghe, bao gồm cả tiếng Anh. Xin chân thành cảm ơn.
For Haitian Creole, please.
Bonjour tout le monde. Jeudi à nous avons service interprétation disponible dans la réunion ça, dans la langue ça qui c'est espagnol, portugais, chinois, vietnamien, créole haïtien et langue ancienne américaine. Si vous ici là dans la salle là, ou soit sur Zoom, vous avez accès à service interprétation nous offre jeudi. Et si vous ici là dans la salle là, utilisez casse récepteur ensemble avec appareil écouteur pour capable joindre accès à service là. Appareil ça est disponible sur table à l'autre bord. Et pour les gens qui sont Zoom, dans un petit moment, nous allons activer le service interprétation pour les nous ouvrir ou après un bouton icône globe qui dit interprétation. Cliquez sur le globe là et puis sélectionnez la langue préférée qui c'est créole haïtien. Merci un peu.
And for Arabic, please.
تقدم خدمات الترجمة الفورية لهذا الاجتماع باللغة الإسبانية والبرتغالية والصينية والفيتنامية والكريولية الهيتية والعربية، بالإضافة إلى لغة الإشارة الأمريكية. إذا كنت في قاعة الاستماع يمكنك الوصول إلى الترجمة باستخدام جهاز استقبال وسماعات الرأس، وهي متوفرة على الطاولة الجانبية بالقاعة. أما بالنسبة لمستخدمي تطبيق زوم فستجد زر على أسفل الشاشة بشكل كرة أرضية مكتوب عليه الترجمة الفورية. اضغط على الكرة الأرضية من فضلك واختر اللغة اللي تفضلها حتى اللغة الإنجليزية.
Language announcement completed. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. So welcome again, everybody. This is a hybrid meeting of the
شكرا مرحبا.
Energy Facilities Siting Board, taking place at the offices of the Department of Public Utilities, 1 South Station, Boston, and on Zoom. This hybrid meeting is intended to allow everyone to see and hear all speakers, whether here or on Zoom. The meeting is being recorded and will be available on the Siting Board's YouTube channel. For our remote attendees, if you're having difficulty with Zoom, please call or text 857-200-0065 for assistance. With me today are other members of the Siting Board. Jeremy McDermott, Chair of the Department of Public Utilities, Stacy Rubin, Commissioner of the Department of Public Utilities, Elizabeth Mahaney, Commissioner of the Department of Energy Resources.
Vâng, hôm nay các thành viên của Hội đồng ký kết Jeremy McDermott, Chủ tịch Sở Dịch vụ Công Stacy Rubin, Ủy viên Giới Dịch vụ Công Elizabeth Mahoney, Ủy viên Sở Tài nguyên Luyện Công, người đang trực tuyến trên đường line Bonnie Heber, Ủy viên Sở Bảo Môi trường, và chúng ta có Joe Bofigo, thành viên công, và Douglas cũng có ở đây luôn đấy ạ. Thì vâng, thì ok, anh ta cũng đang ở trên đường đại thư ký Eric Bailey, anh ấy từ xa. Như vậy chúng ta sẽ xem xét các hai chương trình nghị sự. Thứ nhất, xem xét một quyết định tạm thời liên quan đến một hệ thống lưu trữ năng lượng điện được đề xuất. Và chúng ta các thứ hai là cập nhật và thảo luận về các ý kiến được nhận được về bước tiếp theo đối với dự thảo quy định do đội đồng ký kết 980 ECMR 15 liên quan đến việc tích lũy.
Clean energy infrastructure facilities, which is another component of the 2024 Climate Act. These draft regulations follow the 2024 Climate Act signed into law by Governor Healy in November 2024. The 2024 Climate Act makes many changes in the way that clean energy facilities will be sited and permitted in Massachusetts. The Siting Board is required to promulgate regulations and guidance to implement these reforms that will apply to projects with the Siting Board starting July 1, 2026. The Siting Board will not be voting on these regulations at this meeting. We will have a meeting in early spring to vote on the next version of these regulations. We'll listen to comments today and provide additional opportunities for written comments in March after updating the version of the regulations are released for public review. The Siting Board meeting today will run through the morning and resume in the afternoon after a lunch break. We may not need the full day to complete both matters on the agenda, but we'll see where we are. Okay, agenda item 1 is EFSB 25-05, D.P.U 24-152. TriMet has petitioned the Siting Board and the Department of Public Utilities for exemptions from the City of Everett zoning ordinance to construct and operate a battery energy storage system in Everett. The company also filed a petition for approval to construct, own, and operate a transmission line to connect the proposed battery system to Eversource's Mystic Station in Boston. Presiding officer will describe the project in greater detail. The Siting Board provided notice of today's meeting to the service list for this proceeding and community-based organizations and legislators in the project area. The notice was also posted on the Siting Board's website. In addition, notice of this board meeting was provided under the Massachusetts Open Meeting Law. Consistent with the board's language access policy, the tentative decision was translated into Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, Haitian Creole, and Arabic, and distributed for comment on February 12th. The sequence of this portion of the meeting is as follows. We will listen to comments from public officials. Then the Siting Board presiding officer will make a presentation, followed by comments from the petitioner and the parties and limited participants in the proceeding. Finally, we'll listen to comments from the public. The board will then begin deliberations on the tentative decision, consider possible amendments, and finally vote. A stenographer is present today to transcribe everything said to make an official record of the meeting. Everyone should speak slowly and clearly and allow the prior speaker to finish before you begin speaking. These procedures will help ensure an accurate transcript. All right, so let me begin by asking if there are any public officials or appointed public officials here or on Zoom that would like to speak regarding the tentative decision. Federal officials, state officials, local officials.
And if you would like to speak, please raise your hand on Zoom by clicking on the icon at the bottom of your screen.
Okay, seeing none, we're ready to begin the substantive portion of this meeting. So next, I would ask the presiding officer to present the tentative decision.
Can you elevate that about a foot?
I can I can project.
I think it actually does go up. Maybe the other side of the stand. Good. You're tall.
Can everybody hear me? Now it's too tall. Wish me luck. I can do it like this. It should be okay.
Don't breathe.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, Chair Tepper, members of the Siting Board. My name is Connor Tarr. I am the presiding officer in this matter. I am here today to present the tentative decision and staff's proposed amendment sheet and to answer any questions you may have regarding this proceeding. With me here today are the other members of the Siting Board staff who worked on the case: Andrew Green, Siting Board Director; Joan Foster Evans, General Counsel of the Siting Board; Wayne Wong, the Assistant Director of the Siting Board; and I believe remotely is Smitha Divikar. Also present is Brian Wilmer and Claire Lowe, who are analysts for the Siting Board staff. Tri-Mount ESS seeks individual and comprehensive zoning exemptions from the City of Everett zoning ordinance in connection with the company's proposal to construct a 700 megawatt, 2,800 megawatt hour battery energy storage system, or a BESS, and associated infrastructure, including 2 underground transmission lines and 2 new project substations. This Everett BESS, I'll refer to it as a BESS project. This Everett BESS project would be the largest battery project in New England, approximately 4 times the size of the next largest operating BESS currently in Maine. The BESS site would be located on approximately 20.75 acres of land on 2 separate parcels, one at 52 Beecham Street, referred to as the northern parcel, and one at 0 South Farm Road, referred to as the southern parcel. I will refer to both of these collectively as the project site. The company is also seeking approval from the Siting Board to construct, operate, and maintain 2 underground transmission lines, one at 115 kilovolts and one at 345 kilovolts. The 2 transmission lines would run under the city streets and connect the BESS with the Eversource Mystic substation, which is located at 173 Alfred Street in Boston, which is approximately 1/3 of a mile from the BESS units. The project would use lithium-ion batteries housed in approximately 816 above-ground BESS units. The project BESS units would be placed in a double-stack orientation. Half of the BESS units and inverters would be on an industrial steel platform, and the other half of the BESS units would be below the platform. Each lower level BESS unit would be on a pier foundation and set on concrete pads. The project would occupy approximately 16.5 acres of the 20.75 acres of the project site. The project site is a former ExxonMobil terminal now underground or now undergoing environmental cleanup, specifically decommissioning and remediation. The project would also include 2 new electric substations, referred to as the project substations. One on the northern parcel, which will be a 345 kilovolt, and one on the southern parcel, which would be a 115 and 345 kilovolt. The project would include 345 kilovolt underground electric lines to connect the battery enclosures and power control systems to the project substations, including crossing beneath Beecham Street. One newly constructed 115 kilovolt underground transmission line and one newly constructed 345 kilovolt underground transmission line would connect the BESS equipment to the Mystic substation. After exiting the project site, the proposed transmission lines use a private easement and then enter Rover Street, then Dexter Street, approximately 1,600 feet, and finally, for the 115 kilovolt line only, an additional 1,200 feet on Alfred Street. Now some additional background regarding the project and these proceedings. The company filed its petitions requesting zoning exemptions and authority to construct the transmission lines on November 19, 2024, to the Department of Public Utilities. The department docketed the petitions as D.P.U. 24-152, pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 40A, subsection 3, and General Laws, Chapter 164, subsection or section 1, section 72. On February 18th, 2025, the 2024 Climate Act became effective and moved the authority to grant zoning exemptions pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 3, from the department to the Siting Board. On February 21st, 2025, the department issued an order transferring D.P.U. 24-152, including all filings to date, including the Section 72 request, to the Siting Board for further review and decision. On March 4th, 2025, D.P.U. 24-152 was consolidated with a new Siting Board docket number at EFSB 2505. The tentative decision before the Siting Board today finds that the BESS project meets the Siting Board standards for zoning exemptions and for the transmission lines. Specifically, the tentative decision finds that 1, the company is a public service corporation. 2, the proposed use is reasonably necessary for the public convenience and welfare. And 3, that the zoning exemptions are required within the meaning of General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 3, for construction and operation of the project. The tentative decision finds the company engaged in good faith consultation with the City of Everett, and that a grant of individual and comprehensive zoning exemptions for the project is both necessary and appropriate. The tentative decision finds that pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 164, Section 72, the transmission lines for the proposed project are necessary for the purpose alleged, would serve the public convenience, and is consistent with the public interest. Accordingly, the tentative decision recommends approval of the Everett BESS project with conditions. The tentative decision is detailed and comprehensive and covers many issues. I'd like to focus my remarks on a few key issues, including safety, public benefits, and zoning. Finally, I will present staff's proposed amendment sheet, which addresses comments and revisions to the tentative decision primarily sought by the company. First, I'll start with safety. The Siting Board assesses the safety of projects it reviews through multiple lenses. The Siting Board reviews processes that, 1, prevent incidents, as an example, through testing of system components and system design and permitting. 2, ensure unusual conditions are identified and addressed, primarily through monitoring and alarming. And 3, provide planning to emergency incidents should they happen, including cleanup in the event of an incident, through emergency response plans and coordination with local responders. Lastly, the siting board assesses facility security to ensure that there is no authorized access to the facility. The tentative decision finds that multiple safety standards apply to the project, including design, building, and fire safety standards. The company has committed to meeting or exceeding all relevant regulatory design and safety requirements for the project. In addition, the project design would comply with the relevant structural engineering codes, best fire protection codes, including National Fire Protection Association, NFPA 855, and industrial standards. The company proposes using Lithium Gen 2 BESS units arranged in an outdoor double-stacked configuration. The tentative decision finds that while the company has limited operational experience with lithium BESS, there have not been any reported thermal runaway incidents involving lithium Gen 2 BESS. The lithium Gen 2 BESS uses lithium ion phosphate chemistry, which the tentative decision observes is consistent with recent utility scale BESS projects, including the department-approved projects in Medway Grid and Cranberry Point. The department recognized lithium ion phosphate battery composition as less prone to thermal runaway incidents than other lithium ion chemistries. The tentative decision concurs that lithium ion phosphate batteries are now the energy storage industry standard due to a combination of commercial availability, performance, safety, and economic competitiveness factors. The double stack configuration for the BESS appears to be novel, with no operational BESS projects in the US having outdoor double stack configurations. But the company asserts that there are 3 multi-stacked BESS projects outside the US that are operating. The reason for double stacking is to permit additional capacity to the limited space available on the project site. To elevate the double stack design, or to evaluate the double stack design for fire safety, the company conducted a computational fluid dynamics, heat flux, and fixed water spray modeling proof of concept report analysis. The tentative decision finds that the company's proposed use of an automated external water spray system would be a practical solution to provide cooling to the BESS support structure and prevent fire propagation to containers above and adjacent to the initiating BESS unit. The board recognizes that the use of automated external water sprays for fire suppression is another unique feature to the double-stacked arrangement. Per National Fire Protection Association NFPA 855, which applies specifically to BESS, the company has developed an initial emergency response ERP plan that details the project design and safety features, potential failure scenarios, and response tactics in event of an emergency. The tentative decision finds that the emergency response plan will be revised in collaboration with the Everett Fire Department and the company committed to developing additional documents, including a hazard mitigation analysis and a community risk assessment with the Everett Fire Department once it has made the final equipment selections for the project. The company also committed to working with the City of Everett to develop a decommissioning plan prior to the start of construction. The tentative decision directs the company to include several procedures in its final emergency response plan, such as emergency procedures to be followed in case of fire, explosion, release of liquids or vapors, damage to crucial move. It's okay. Is it not picking up as much? Okay. I'll hold it. I'll be closer to it. I can project. Its final emergency response plan, such as emergency procedures to be followed in case of fire, explosion, release of liquids or vapors, damage to crucial moving parts, or other potentially dangerous conditions. Training for local first responders on the contents of the emergency response plan and protocols and schedules for conducting drills of the emergency procedures, and a communications plan that outlines the parties' responsibilities for contacting nearby residents impacted by an emergency event. The tentative decision finds that the project would include remote monitoring capabilities and safety features that would respond autonomously to system fault conditions. If thermal runaway conditions are detected in a battery unit, the fire alarm control panels would generate audio and visual alarms on the exterior of the troubled container, in addition to sending alert signals to the battery's management system, a safety central monitoring station, and the company's remote operations center. The central monitoring station would have the ability to dispatch the local fire department as needed. In addition to the project's autonomous fire safety features, the company states that the BESS containers would be outfitted with various manual safety systems, including ventilation and fire alarms, which could be operated as needed. The initial emergency response plan that states that fire responders would work with the company's BESS subject matter expert to conduct a scene size up in order to develop an appropriate response tactic for addressing the emergency. Scene size up steps include reviewing the fire control panels and battery management systems data to determine the location of the troubled equipment, which alarms were set off, the state of charge of the battery container involved, the temperatures within the battery unit, and verification that the unit has been electrically isolated. Finally, the responders would perform an exposure assessment to determine whether additional intervention would be appropriate to prevent thermal runaway propagation. The tentative decision finds that that Tri-Mount will provide annual fire safety training to local fire departments during operations of the project, and that Tri-Mount has held its initial training with the Everett, Boston, and Chelsea fire departments in June of 2024. Next, I'm going to move on to the public benefits of the project. The company has committed to working with the City of Everett in developing and executing a host community agreement that will detail additional community benefits. The company and the City of Everett have a draft host community agreement and are continuing to negotiate this as of today. As you know, the Commonwealth has adapted legislative and policy goals to increase the use of clean and renewable energy and attain net zero carbon emissions by 2050. The tentative decision finds that the project would help the state meet these goals by enabling the interconnection of renewables to the electric grid by balancing renewable energy intermittency, improving electric system capacity, and contributing to system resiliency through participation in the state's Clean Peak program and ISO New England ancillary services market. The project would charge from the grid at periods when there is excess supply of electricity and then deliver that energy back onto the grid during times of peak demand or electric system need. The tentative decision finds that the project serves a need and the project would benefit, or the public would benefit from its operation. The Siting Board has found on various occasions that successful participation of an energy resource in the ISO New England wholesale market and a resulting capacity supply obligation to provide contracted capacity and energy when called upon indicates such a resource is needed for reliability purposes by Massachusetts customers and the New England market. The Siting Board views the project's suitability in providing multiple services in the wholesale market as an indication that it would provide diverse benefits to the respective markets and their customers. The tentative decision finds that the project would also result in approximately 1,300 construction phase jobs through a labor agreement, tax revenue, and pre-apprentice program. The company also participated in the 2024 Climate Act's mandated 83E solicitation for energy storage capacity round 1 request for proposals, and its bid was selected along with 3 other participants for a total of 1,268 megawatts of energy storage capacity. The tentative decision directs the company to update the board on its efforts to finalize a project labor agreement within 90 days of the decision. And lastly, I'm going to turn towards the specifics of the zoning. The tentative decision reviews and recommends approval of the zoning exemption request from the company, including use restrictions, setbacks and parking requirements, and open space and impervious surface provisions. Furthermore, the tentative decision finds that the company requires zoning exemptions for the stormwater management provisions and the project site plan review provisions. The tentative decision carefully reviews environmental and other impacts and finds that the project avoids, minimizes, and mitigates these impacts. Grant of any zoning exemption does not forsake the underlying reasons for having zoning provisions: environmental protection, safety, public health. The tentative decision does find that the company has established a need for the project and a need for the individual exemptions requested. The Siting Board has previously held that the grant of a comprehensive zoning exemption has been based on the specifics of each case. The Siting Board considers whether substantial public harm may be avoided by granting comprehensive exemption and considers time sensitivity for projects to determine whether the granting of a comprehensive zoning exemption would avoid substantial public harm. The tentative decision finds that the project has 2 executed generation interconnection agreements with ISO New England with an in-service date of 2028. To meet these deadlines, the company states that it must begin construction in March of 2026, next month. Construction of the project immediately is necessary for the project to be placed into service in March/April of 2028 to meet the ISO New England deadlines. Everett has begun a process to establish a master planning ordinance and specific master zoning plan for the area, including the project site. There is no pathway for local land use approval of an energy storage system within the master plan that would meet the ISO New England deadlines. Therefore, the project is time sensitive and further delay could result in substantial public harm through non-compliance with the commercial operation date of the ISO New England agreements. The tentative decision finds that there is need for the project, and the need is immediate. The project would fulfill Commonwealth policies relating to energy storage goals, which also have definitive deadlines. Lastly, I'll move on to the staff amendment sheet based on the tentative decision. The Siting Board issued the tentative decision to the parties and limited participants on Thursday, February 12th, 2026. We received comments from Trimount, District Gas of Massachusetts, and Eversource on February 23rd, 2026. The Conservative Law Foundation, a limited participant, did not submit comments. Staff have provided an amendment sheet that reflects requested changes to the tentative decision. Turning first to the specifics of the company requested amendments. The company has requested several minor modifications to some of the conditions in the tentative decision. In general, the changes requested by the company do not affect the substance of the conditions, but rather they are clarifications of the record and the consistency of the conditions with the record. We support all the requested changes and have included them on the amendment sheet. The requested modifications to the conditions include the following. A new condition G is inserted to provide additional limitations and parameters for the project fence, specifically the distance between the fence and the project wall at a minimum of 5 feet and the minimum height of the fence of 15 feet. Now condition H inserts language to clarify work hours related specifically to the transmission lines that will occur in both the city of Everett and the city of Boston. Now condition I was reorganized to clarify the requirement of the company related to best management practices and inserts limiting language to the use of pile driving within 150 feet of the property line. Now condition T inserts language and clarifies the requirements of the company in the case of a project incident, specifically notice to DOMAC or District Gas of Massachusetts and the fire department, permitting alternative means of agreed upon notification during an incident. There are additional amendments that are part of the amendment sheet that were also incorporated into the body of the text. Although I'm not going to go into the specifics of those. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer them. We also corrected some minor typographical errors in the tentative decision. These corrections are also not included in the amendment sheet. In conclusion, the tentative decision finds that the company is a public service corporation. The proposed use is reasonably necessary for the public convenience or welfare, and zoning exemptions are required within the meaning of General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 3, for construction and operation of the Everett BESS project, subject to the conditions in the tentative decision. In addition, the tentative decision finds that the company engaged in good faith consultation with the city of Everett, and that a grant of individual and comprehensive zoning exemptions for the Everett BESS project is both necessary and appropriate. Lastly, the tentative decision finds that the Everett BESS project transmission lines are necessary, serve the public convenience, and are consistent with the public interest. We would be happy to answer any questions now or later in the meeting. Secretary Tepper, do you have any questions?
Does anybody on the board have any questions? Yes.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer Tarr, for the comprehensive overview of the tentative decision. Just one question. So the decision does note the double stack configuration for the BESS appears to be novel, which you just talked about. You referenced that there are 3 projects operating in the double stack configuration outside the US. Can you just talk through what concerns did staff consider about the double stack configuration, and what comfort can you give the board that you think this is a safe design and as safe as the single Lithium Gen 2 facilities?
As we did go into that extensively within the evidentiary hearings. Staff did ask a number of questions of the company to investigate and determine whether or not that would be an appropriate resolution, as well as why that configuration was selected. I will defer to staff to provide an additional response regarding the specifics of the safety so that we can get a little bit more detailed analysis. So introduce you.
Oh, yes. Hi, I'm Claire Lowe, an analyst with the Siting Division. I can speak to some of the safety concerns we discussed in the evidentiary hearing. One of them is with the double stack configuration. Unlike a normal BESS project, you also have to worry about heat flux in the vertical direction. And so we extensively questioned the company about how they accounted for that. And the answer is the company conducted computational fluid dynamics fire simulation analysis, wherein they took the UL 9540A testing data in order to model a worst case fire and use that to both calculate the heat infringement on the structure itself, the heat flux to the structure itself, as well as the BESS that would be directly above a fully involved fire. And they found that with a clearance of, I believe, minimum 5 to 6 feet of spacing the structural BESS above the first layer, they were able to not only, and with the addition of the spray system. So there would be sprays on all 4 adjacent BESS, as well as the BESS above and the structure. So the water would be able to sufficiently cool the structure well below the failure temperature and also prevent any adjacent containers from entering thermal runaway.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Claire and Mr. Tarr.
Other questions? Yep.
Couple of questions. Do you have a sense of the timing of the host agreement with the city of Everett?
I haven't received a specific update since we had finalized the record in this instance. I do believe that the company would be able to provide an update later in the proceedings.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Tarr? Thank you. Thank you very much for your Oh, is there anybody? I don't think there are any board members that have questions online either. Am I right about that?
Nope. Not a chance.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. All right, so before we begin with the parties, I'd like to note that the Siding Board received timely written comments on the tentative decision from Tri-Mount, District Gas of Massachusetts, and Eversource Energy. These comments have been posted in the Siding Board's electronic file room online and were sent to Siding Board members. So I'd first like to have the attorneys do a notice of appearance, please.
Shane Early for Tri-Mount.
Good morning, Erica Hafner on behalf of Eversource Energy. With me is David Rosenzweig from the law firm of Key Moreland.
Thank you. Mr. Dettori.
I'm going to put him in the panel.
Okay, hold on.
Let's see if he's there.
Is he ready? He has his hand up. Mr. Torrey, would you like to make your notice of appearance, please?
Yes, good morning. John DeTore, Greenberg Traurig, on behalf of District Gas of Massachusetts Corporation.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we will now move on. There's no other parties, correct?
Not interveners.
Interveners, sorry. Yeah, okay. So first, we're going to turn to Tri-Mount for some comments on the tentative decision.
Thank you. And given the issues with the microphone stand, with the board's permission, I'll stay and proceed with my comments. That microphone not working well, but I can give you this. Still want to speak into it like that. Thank you. So first of all, the company would like to thank the board and the staff for all of their work on this thorough decision, understanding that getting this out on the current timeline, particularly with the other obligations they had from the 2024 Climate Act, was not an easy task, and it's much appreciated. To jump right into Board Member McDermott's question about the status of the host community agreement, as you may be aware, there is a new mayor and a new administration in the city of Everett. The company has met with the administration. They met late last month and expect to be circulating another draft on the host community agreement within the next few weeks. One other point of clarification, and this was made clear by the staff's comments discussing the stacked configuration. It is not actually a stacked configuration, and this is an important distinction. A stacked configuration would be two BESS enclosures directly on top of each other. For safety reasons, and safety is obviously paramount, the design that the company came up with is platform-based so that there will be space between the two layers of BESS containers. And this is what allows the external water spray system that was discussed to ensure cooling of all relevant features and prevent against any incident there.
I just asked you a quick question while you're talking about that. So is that also what they have done in Europe, or in Europe are they untouched to each other?
They have had them directly stacked in certain of those instances, is my understanding.
So will you be the first entity that is using this system?
With regard to platform-based facilities, you see them regularly in petrochemicals. They're actually used, I believe, in the district gas facility that is there, which obviously have to deal with similar heat concerns. So in the United States, with regard to a battery energy storage system, this would be the first, but the concept and the use of industrial platforms for this type of situation is not novel at all. It's been used for many, many decades.
For many
decades.
Okay, thank you.
So the decision, the tentative decision speaks for itself. We support the decision with our comments, which we appreciate the staff having recommended the board incorporate in the final decision on this. We look forward to the benefits that this project will bring to the city of Everett, the region, and to ratepayers. We further look forward to, this is just one step in the process, continued outreach to both the public, community organizations, the city of Everett, and other individuals involved with this. Happy to take any questions from the board that they have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick question following up on the host community agreement. Can you just talk about any conversations you've had with representatives from the city of Boston and whether there's contemplated a host community agreement with Boston?
There have been numerous conversations with the city of Boston. There have not been discussions, to my knowledge, about a host community agreement there. Again, the only portion of the project that would be in the city of Boston is the final part of a transmission line.
Got it. And in terms of your conversations with the city of Everett, are you only speaking to the new mayor, or are there other entities within the city that you are corresponding with?
The mayor and the mayor's administration. Under my understanding is under the Everett Charter, it is the mayor who has the authority to enter into a host community agreement.
Thank you very much.
Apologies if this was already covered, and I also recognize that we're only at the end of February, so we're still early in 2026, but are you aware of if in your safety plans you used the 2026 NFPA 885 update, the order, and I think a lot of the documents refer to it, doesn't always apply, but there's a new update to NFPA 885, and are you using the old version or the new version?
What was submitted in the hearing would have been the applicable standard at that point under both the tentative decision and the commitments that we have made. We will be updating both the design as needed to meet applicable code requirements, and the emergency response plan is a living document that will continue to be updated with the most relevant and recent requirements, as well as further conversations with the Everett Fire Department and other first responders to make sure that we can make that document as effective as possible.
Thank you.
So just to be clear, the company intends to comply with the new.
That is correct.
I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about how the project fits into the greater project in Everett and how you will be communicating with respect to that as that project goes through permitting.
So the company is in regular conversation with the developer of the rest of the 80 acres of the former ExxonMobil tank site. The project is located very intentionally as a buffer next to both district gas as well as a number of last mile transportation and storage facilities. So in that way, it can help create a space between the other development that is going on. As has been mentioned in the record, the financing from this project and its ability to get online will help facilitate that development.
And what about the stadium?
The stadium, I believe, is outside of the parcel.
It is.
There. Could you clarify what you mean by your question?
I'm just wondering if there's been any coordination with the developers of the stadium about how they're going to be building a park and what that means for other people in the area.
I believe that there have been high-level conversations, but I do not believe that anything in-depth has happened at this point yet.
I would encourage that. I think there's a lot of development going on there right now, I think on sort of different tracks. And I think we do want to make sure that everybody is kind of in sync about what's happening in that area. Can you also talk to us a little bit about the remaining permitting path you have? Do you have any more permits you need to receive, or how's that working?
At this point, well, we will need to go to the city of Everett for the permits that are authorized with the zoning exemption that are here. Let me double check very quickly.
So with respect to the zoning exemptions that you're getting today, there will be no further role of the city, correct?
To formally just get the building permit for them, submit the plan so that they have
the building
records,
permit.
yes.
Got it. Okay.
We will need a trench permit from the city of Boston, which will be expected, and this is all in the charts that have been provided to the board, roughly 60 days before that portion of the construction. We'll be filing a NPDES permit, a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, also roughly 30 days before the beginning of construction, as well as with the FAA, just an obstruction evaluation and a determination of no hazard, which I do not believe we have received yet. And I believe that encompasses what's there.
Ready?
The federal, yeah, exactly.
Are there no more DEP reviews, Commissioner?
I do not.
Not of which I'm aware.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody online? Okay. Thank you. All right, let's move on to, there are two interveners in this proceeding. Let's start with DOMAC, represented by attorneys John DeTore and David Fixler. Does council want to make any comments today on this matter?
Just briefly, Madam Secretary, DOMAC believes that the amendments proposed by the staff addresses all our concerns, and so we're supportive of the tentative decision with the amendments.
And there's been communication between you and the petitioner, and you are satisfied with how the most recent changes are worded?
We have been working. DOMAC's been working very closely with Trimon throughout the process, and we did collaborate on the changes. So the language is completely satisfactory to us.
All right, thank you very much. Eversource.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide comment this morning. Consistent. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comment this morning. Consistent with the written comments submitted by Eversource Energy in this proceeding, Eversource supports the tentative decision as issued in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the interveners? And CLF here today? Anyone want to make any comments? CLF's a limited participant in the proceeding. Okay. All right, then we're going to turn to members of the public. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand, or if you are on Zoom, use the raise hand function. Anybody here in the room like to speak?
¿Alguien acá del público que quisiera hablar? ¿Alguien aquí dentro de la sala? Okay.
That's great.
Okay.
All right, so we will
Genial.
move on to
Así que vamos a avanzar ahora.
I did. I thought I did. Is there anybody else online that wants to speak? Okay. All right, so we will move on to deliberations. To start the deliberations, can we have a motion to adopt the tentative decision?
So moved.
Have a second? Thank you. Okay, so we will leave the main motion on the table for further discussion. The board will now deliberate on the tentative decision. Commissioner.
Thank you. I have just a couple of suggested additional amendments to the tentative decision, each of which would carry through a commitment of the company that's already been made, that's already reflected in the tentative decision to a condition. So this is not new territory. This is largely things that the company or the proponent has already, even in its application, committed to out of the gates. And again, that's discussed extensively in each case in the tentative decision. I'm happy to do those now unless Mr. Green advises that there's a more appropriate time to amend conditions.
Fine.
Okay. So on page 97, condition F, give everyone, myself included, a moment to get there. This relates to stormwater runoff. Propose amending condition F to add the language, the company shall comply with the requirements of Everett's municipal storm sewer system general permit and the U.S. EPA residual designation authority action for the Mystic River watershed and with Mass DEP's stormwater handbook in the establishment and operation of stormwater systems at the project site. That sentence would be added as a second sentence to condition F, and then we would propose breaking out the remainder of the language in the current condition F related to traffic as a new condition G, just to separate those two concepts.
Okay. Why don't you put all your ideas on the table and then we can discuss.
I will do so. As a proposed new condition Y, again, this is something that the company has already committed to and they are directed to do in the final decision, but it is not reflected as a condition quite yet. So we're proposing as a new condition Y, the language, the siting board directs the company to submit an SPCC, including facility response plan prior to commencement of construction, as well as an emergency response plan in consultation with the city of Everett, The company shall comply with the requirements of Mass General Laws, Chapter 21E, 310 CMR 40.0000, and other applicable federal, state, and local laws with respect to response to releases of oil and hazardous materials. I think the company's counsel already referred to today as the emergency response plan as a living document. So again, these are all things that are, I think, part of the plan and just making sure that we're memorializing them as conditions in the decision.
And are you specifically saying that they should submit it to the siting board?
Yes.
I would propose a friendly amendment just to make that clear.
Sure. Okay. Just giving other folks a chance to amend the amendment to the amendment. They're so inclined. Okay. And finally, which would, I think, be a proposed new condition Z, if the other changes are adopted, related to the acoustic and sound modeling the company has already performed, adding as condition Z, at the time the company finalizes its selection of equipment and design of the project, the siting board directs the company to perform a final acoustic modeling analysis to ensure the project complies with the Mass DEP noise policy. The company shall submit this analysis to the siting board and shall conduct additional sound studies if necessary and as determined by the siting board to ensure compliance with this condition.
So when are you anticipating that they do that?
Prior to construction, I believe, is our typical.
After
it's still modeling as of this point. So I believe it's once they make final equipment design choices that have not yet been, finalized. This is still modeling. And then, if needed, there would be some sort of ongoing sound or noise requirement, but that is not proposed at this time.
Understood. So Commissioner, can you talk to us a little bit about why you think these conditions are necessary?
Sure. Again, I think this is pretty standard fare for board decisions, and just ensuring that all of the commitments the company, again, to its credit, made as part of its initial application, that we are agreeing to in the tentative decision, and in some cases, reaffirming that we are directing them to do those things, putting them in as conditions makes them more clear and easily enforceable should that be needed in the future.
Understood. Any questions about the proposed amendments? Okay. Ms. Rubin, did you want to say something? You're thinking. Oh, that's fine.
Yes, sure. Just a quick question. One of the conditions already refers to the ERP, Emergency Response Plan. I'm just trying to make sure that we're not duplicating content here with your new condition X. So sorry, forgive me as I just make sure. I'm just trying to make sure I understand. So condition O in the tentative decision has kind of a list of content to be included in the final emergency response plan. I'm not going to read it. It's several bullet points here. I'm just wondering is there any reason for your new proposed condition X, Commissioner Heupel, to be separate from what's currently here in condition O?
I think reconfirming that the emergency response plan, as I believe is the company's intention, would be developed in consultation with the city of Everett, which it appears is sort of inferred by some of the language in condition O. But just stating that clearly, and then pursuant to the chair's amendment to my proposal, making clear that that plan should be submitted to the siting board.
If I could offer just a friendly observation to the proposed amendment, Commissioner Heupel's proposed condition emphasizes the spill prevention, control, and countermeasure plan, which is distinct, although somewhat conceptually related to the emergency response plan. So there's a linkage, but they're not identical. And I think the thrust of the condition emphasizes the spill prevention aspect. So it's not duplicating or contradicting. Condition Q, I think, is the ERP condition as issued in the tentative decision.
I would agree with that. If you think there is a benefit to removing the emergency response plan reference from the proposal, that's certainly something we can think about.
That might make it more clear.
I think that'll help. I'm just trying to not have any contradictory pieces. So if you're okay with a further amendment to your proposed amendment X as further amended by Secretary Tepper, I would just strike the as well as an emergency response plan. And that way we have one condition, which I'm now confused whether it's O or Q, but
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. As long as it's there, I think we're okay.
We'll find it.
Is there a catch-all condition that would require the company to submit the emergency response plan to the board already?
That was the that was the intent behind condition Q, I'm going to say, because that's what it is in my copy of the tentative decision.
Okay.
But if it's not clear enough that there's an onus on the company to submit it, we could clarify it in condition Q.
Does Commission Q require it?
It starts with the siting board directs the company to include in its final emergency response plan at a minimum the following, and it lists all the elements. So it's pretty clear.
May I note that we'll probably need to double check all the numbering when we put these in. We'll find the correct condition and verify that in the correct condition. Thank you.
The last condition in the draft that is given to us this morning includes a requirement that the final ERP be given to the city of Boston and city of Everett. I would think we could just add the board to that list and keep it simple.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. And I do think it's not a given that they would file that plan with the siting board without saying it. So I think
Agreed.
that makes sense.
So just to clarify, the chair's suggestion. So we're talking the last condition, condition Z, to include the mandate that the ERP be filed with the siting board as a compliance condition.
Correct.
Okay.
The final ERP.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We also have proposed amendments to the tentative decision that was provided to us this morning, or to the tentative decision that was provided by staff that, as we heard earlier, that incorporates many of the requests by the petitioner and the interveners. So I just want to clarify question with the staff about the amendments. Are there any requests by an intervener or the petitioner that is not included in the list of amendments? Did you decide that all of them you were putting in, or did you have some that you did not put in? I just wasn't able to do this side by side.
No, it's fine. We did go through, we did end up adopting or modifying all of the conditions that had, or amendments that the company had identified and included. There were some additional identified Scribner errors that were identified by the company that are not part of the amendment sheet, but they were identified by the company, and they will be included in the final decision.
Understood. Okay. All right. Are there any discussion about the staff's proposed amendments? No? Okay. So I think we should we need a motion now to amend the tentative decision to include the amendments by Commissioner Heipel and by the staff.
So moved.
Second.
Vote on that.
All right, so we are voting on a tentative decision that has been amended by the staff amendments and by Commissioner Heipel's amendments